Oh, goddamn noise. Hopefully that's not picked up and ruin my little program here. All right. All right. Alrighty. All right. Going to get started here. All right. This is Sports for Real with Coach Hall. Getting real excited today because we're going to get through this round of 16. Sweet 16 tips off tonight, and they're going to be punching tickets starting on Saturday. And a lot of interesting games to come. You still got the 4 top seeds are still out there. And that's the question that needs to be talked about. And I get into that in a moment. But first, let me talk about my little bracket here. Up to this point, I am 39-9 in the 48 games. And of those games, the ones that I lost were like toss-ups that I went back and forth on. And then it's kind of like flipping a coin. I end up losing. Not saying that I'm that good, because normally one of my brackets gets destroyed every year early, just like everybody else. But so far, it's been pretty much evenly spread around. And that's another thing I want to talk about. Our upsets, true upsets, really likely nowadays. By a true upset, I mean some team from one of those smaller conferences comes along and beat a team like a Duke or North Carolina when they're good early in the tournament. Not some team that's proved that they deserve to be in the tournament and picking off teams left and right. That's not a true upset to me. The true upset is when you have teams like from the Southern Conference or the Mountain West maybe beating one of the top 4 or 5 teams in the tournament. We hadn't seen that this year. And I was watching Michael Irvin, and he brought up a good point. He said that in the days of the NIL, true upsets or the number of upsets are going to decline because players that would normally stay at a school, at a smaller school, would be there the entire 4 or 5 years. And those teams, they get better over time. And by the time they've been together 4 years, they're a really good team. But with the NIL now, it's like free agency for everybody. Matter of fact, the portal is open now. When you score 25 points and you play for a school like Fairleigh Dickinson, you're going to go shop that 25 points a game around, and maybe you can come up with a ACC team the next year. And you stay in the ACC a year or two, and you get your numbers up, and you may want to go to the Big Ten and see how you fare over there. And that's what's going on now. So instead of these smaller schools getting stronger every year, like Gonzaga used to do, now you have to rebuild your team every year. And if your player that you had last year was scoring 25 or 30 points a game, he's trying to go to a bigger school now to get himself in position where maybe he can go play professional basketball, which makes sense. Coaches do it all the time, right? So you can't get upset if the players do it. But as far as the tournament goes, it reduces the amount of time that smaller schools are going to beat these bigger schools because they're rating the smaller schools now for talent. Matter of fact, it might just be better to recruit from the smaller schools than to go in high school because you already got some guy that's proven, and you see the same thing going on in college football. Anaya Bhattacharya says hello. What's going on, JC? Talking about this NCAA tournament, just in case you missed it up to this point, I'm 39-9, and I'm about to hammer picks out for what I think is going to go down tonight. Starting out with the East region, you got Alabama and BYU. BYU is a pretty good team. They've beaten some good teams this year. I think they knocked off, I don't think they knocked off Houston, but they gave Houston hell. I know they beat Arizona. So this is a team that is certainly worthy of being where they are. And they crashed the party in the East with the sixth seed. And I don't think that they're going to win tonight. I think Alabama, they got their legs pretty steady, and they play competition just a little bit better than BYU. Plus, they've had a whole 3 or 4 days to look at BYU. So that all favors the better team. Upsets tend to happen at this stage when you don't know much about a team or you only get a limited amount of time to look at them. So because of that, I'm going to go with Alabama. And Duke and Arizona, Arizona is a very good team. And like I said, they played BYU, they played Houston, they played a lot of tough teams this year. But again, the SEC was the best team, best conference, top to bottom this year. And the competition over there was just a little bit better than it was in the Big 12. But, the Big 12 is salivating because they have an opportunity to have an East Regional final with both teams from that conference. That would be a plus up for that group, especially when everybody's now trying to gravitate toward the Big 10 and the SEC. But it's not going to happen tonight. I told you guys before that I think Duke is the best team. I didn't wait till the tournament started. I told you as long as Cooper Flagg and the rest of those guys stayed healthy, you're going to have to beat Duke. And you're going to have to go through hell to do it because this, to me, is the best team, despite Auburn being rated the number 1 overall seed. And that probably even helped Duke because it can fly more under the radar. So I expect to see Alabama playing Duke on Saturday for a trip to the Final Four. Now in the West, Florida and Maryland. Now Florida, everybody's all around here has already got Florida not only in the Final Four but cutting the nets down. But Maryland, they had to hit that last second shot to knock off upset-minded Colorado State. They're not going to be in the same situation this time, but the way Florida is playing, they should be able to outscore Maryland. Maryland's got some good scorers themselves, but they just seem to beat around the bush a little bit too much. And if you get a little gap there, if the Gators get a little gap ahead of them, I don't think Maryland's going to be able to track them down the way they did Colorado State. So I expect Florida to move on. And by the way, you got 2 East Coast teams here going all the way out to San Francisco. And Texas Tech and Arkansas. Arkansas crashes the party at number 10 when they knocked off St. John's the other day. And Texas Tech, and they're a pretty good team. But, Calaberry is also a good coach. So it's going to come down to the banging down low. And I think that Arkansas is very, very capable of winning this game. As a matter of fact, if Arkansas don't win this game, it's going to come down to the last minute. So because of that, the nip and tuckness, I think Texas Tech, who's been in the Final Four in recent years, I think they're going to pull the rabbit out of the bag and knock off Arkansas late. But don't be surprised if Arkansas pulls away from them. But I'm going to go ahead and pick Texas Tech in this one. So it's going to be a Florida-Texas Tech game out of the West region in San Francisco on Saturday, which would also avert one conference having 2 teams to play for a trip to the Final Four. Tomorrow, we'll talk more about that, but you have Michigan State taking on Ole Miss. Number 1, Auburn's going to get Michigan, and then you have Tennessee, Kentucky meeting for the 3rd time. That's a very interesting matchup, and Houston taking on Purdue. We'll talk more about that tomorrow. But today, it's all about the upsets. NIL is like Irvin said, and he put that in my mind. I never thought about it. I thought about it from the football terms, but with these teams in the smaller levels, they would bond together and they would get better over the years. So by the time they got to be seniors, they would give those big schools hell in the tournament. But now the big schools are poaching the players and they never get to that point. And if the big schools are going to be taking all the players, that means you're going to have far less upsets in the NCAA tournament. Chris Ramirez, Maryland taking the dub. I don't know, man. Florida, I will say this about Florida. Connecticut showed you how to slow them down. But you also could look at the Tennessee tape when they held them to 44 points. Florida's definitely not invincible, but I think that getting past that UConn was a big hurdle for them. And I think because of that, Maryland, they should never been in a game with Colorado State. I think Florida's just a little bit better than Maryland at this point. And I just think that's what's going to happen. Sour Hayes, how you doing, man? Um, enjoying March Madness? Yeah, I'm enjoying it. But I tell you what, I'm not enjoying. Every 5 seconds, they want to stop the game to look at a replay, and it's taking 5 minutes to make a simple decision about who touched the ball going out of bounds. I mean, I understand you want to be correct and all, and you don't want to look bad, but it don't take that long to make a call. And it seems like every little basic call now, they want to stop the game and go look at it. Basketball replay at this point reminds me of what the replay looked like in NFL when they first came out with that. And right now, it's allowing teams to get extra timeouts because while they're looking at the play, these coaches are scheming and drawing up plays and basically getting extra timeouts. So while the fans don't like the slowing down, it gives the coaches more opportunity to get some more wisdom in there. So from a coaching standpoint, maybe you like it. But from a viewership, man, they're stopping the games too much, man, and I hate it. So I hopefully in the future they'll find some way to make it better, and I think they will. But that's the only thing that's destroying the tournament from my viewpoint, which is why I asked the poll question: do you guys like the replay system? And right now, 60% of you say no, and for the most part, I agree with you. It's killing the action. You can have a team that's hot and get a play like that and go on for 4 or 5 minutes, and now you're out of your rhythm. Basketball is all about rhythm, and that can hurt a lot of teams. And I think with the stakes being so high as they are this weekend, you're going to see a lot of that happen over this weekend, and that's unfortunate. And then the officials, they get a chance to be celebrities because they get to talk to the crowd and you get to see their face and they show their personality and all this kind of crap. Well, I don't want to see none of that, man. Get out of the way, go blow your whistle, and let's play the game. That's all we want to see from the officials. But that's the only thing I have problem with, Sour Hayes. But that's pretty much all I have today. I don't know about you guys. Like I say, I'm 39-9 so far in the tournament. And for the most part, the action is taking place. Most of the top seeds are there, minus Arkansas beating Kansas. And I forget who BYU beat, but that was a number 3 seed. Ole Miss got by number 3, Iowa State. But I don't know if Iowa State was seeded correctly because they didn't look so good. But we'll talk more about those other matchups tomorrow. Give me something to talk about. But again, I'm going with Alabama, Duke, Florida, and Texas Tech tonight. Even though Texas Tech is going to be on, they're going to have to hold on if they want to beat Arkansas because Arkansas playing some good ball right now. But one thing about Arkansas, keep this in mind. When they beat St. John's, both teams combined to miss 90 shots. That is an awful lot of shots to miss on this level this time of the year. So if Arkansas don't shoot much better than what they did the other day, they could get run off because it don't take much. Once you fall behind, you got a problem. All right, Maryland, Florida is the big one. Yeah, but like I say, I think Florida is going to pull away from Maryland. I think they beat them by at least by 9 or 10 points. Rogers met with the Steelers yesterday. Well, see, that's the thing. Now that you got Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston going to the Giants, the only thing left for Rodgers to do is either pick between the Vikings or the Steelers. The Steelers is probably the best landing spot for Rodgers. So the question is, why is he wasting time? Why don't you go ahead and sign and get it over with, man? Because you holding everybody up. With the draft coming, the teams need to know what they need to do as far as selecting a quarterback. And if I don't have to get a quarterback, then I want to go out to this player over here. But you can't do that if you got a guy like Rodgers holding up the process. If it was me, I call Rodgers up. So what you going to do, man? Are you going to sign with us today or you go to hell? And if you want to go to hell, go ahead on because you may not sign with me anyway. So what am I losing? So you got to put a guy like that to the fire. You know, you going to play with us or not? Kind of like what Cam Hayward was saying. I'm not running behind you. I'm not calling you no more. And unless you come in here to sign a contract, don't come back to the building, man. Because if you sign with somebody else, we're going to try to break you up when we see you. So either you're going to play with us or you don't. That's just my feeling on that. All right, if Arkansas has a chance, they got to hit some shot. Hope they do. Well, I'm telling you, if they don't shoot the ball better than what they did against St. John's, they got a problem. AB. Rogers ain't going to Minnesota. Well, he might. We didn't think Brett Favre was going to Minnesota either, but that would be a stick it to the Packers kind of thing, especially if he's able to go in there and beat them like Brett Favre did. Greg Stevens says Rogers is signing with the 49ers. Why? Why do the 49ers need him? I mean, it would be a homecoming for Rodgers, but Purdy is serviceable enough to keep him as the quarterback. Plus, he's a whole lot younger than Rodgers. You can't get rid of a guy that could be with you for years over somebody that has 1-2 years at the most. And even if he has a great year this year, who's to say on play 5 of the season, one of those linebackers come through and put a helmet right on his chin and he's done. So you threw away your future for a guy that could be broke up at any time. Minnesota sounds like they're out. Well, I would be too. And after the Jets, yeah, you're right, AB. But I think Rodgers, he needs to go to Pittsburgh. And Mike Tomlin, they hadn't said it, but I think he's on a hot seat. And that's why they're talking about revamping their style of play and approach to things. They're approaching things like they used to approach it. They haven't really fully embraced the modern era. They haven't handled the quarterback position very well. So although they haven't had any losing seasons, they get to the playoffs and then they can't win. So what's the point of getting there just to be a number in the field? You want to go try to win, man. And Pittsburgh, they just don't have it right now. Who you got in the Tennessee game? Well, I think Kentucky whipped them twice. It's hard to beat a team 3 times, even though that doesn't mean a whole lot. I think Kentucky was very unfortunate to draw a team like Illinois. Illinois was a very capable team, but you didn't know which one of those guys was going to show up. Illinois might show up. They showed up for a little bit, but not enough. And because of that, the inconsistency of Illinois is the reason this game. Tennessee, I think that this time they're going to get Kentucky. I didn't want to give these picks out early yet, but that should be another bruiser. Those two neighboring states. Deep history between the two. And Kentucky is the blue blood basketball program. Tennessee is more of a football school, but Tennessee has some great teams. But the wild card in all this situation is Rick Barnes. You don't know what Barnes is going to do. He doesn't have a great history of NCAA tournaments. Let me tell you about Barnes. He was in Texas, and they were playing Duke in the Sweet 16. And that's what ran me hot with him. It was a one possession game, and Texas had the ball. We're talking maybe a minute in the game. Texas can win this game. He's got timeouts in his pocket. They get the ball, and they rush up a bad shot. I'm thinking he's going to call a timeout, right? No. Duke gets the ball. They get a stop. So now I'm sure Barnes is going to call a timeout and get his team settled. They go down, jack up another bad shot. This time Duke comes along and they get the points to seal the game. And guess what Texas does then? He calls a timeout. What the hell are you calling the timeout for now when the game is already over? I could never figure out what Barnes is doing. And I think some of the fans from Texas probably think the same thing. And Tennessee fans have to worry that he's going to do something to blow it for him. He's a good coach. He's a great coach. But sometimes I don't know what Barnes be thinking, man. And I've seen some of the other coaches do the same thing. Leonard Hamilton, for one, he did the same kind of thing with Florida State. When the game is on the line and you got a chance to call a timeout to settle your team and you don't, and then when the other team makes the play that kills you, now you want to call a timeout. For what? The game's over now. It doesn't make sense. All right, Rodgers didn't get out of bed for less than $50 million a year. I don't think it's about the money for Rodgers. I think he just wants to prove a point that he can still play, and he wants to go out on his own merits. Can you say Chahoo? I don't know what you're talking about, Thunder. Do you think Auburn can pull it? I think Auburn can get to the Final Four, but I still am telling you, Duke is the best team. And I think that Auburn knocked them off early in the year. But the way Duke is playing and hitting on all cylinders and their subs are playing, They're more consistent than Auburn, and because of that, I think that Duke is going to knock them off, whoever they play. That's just my opinion, but I don't want to get too far with that. I just wanted to do it pick by pick. And right now, I'm 39-9. My brackets haven't been destroyed like they were in the past, but like Irvin said, that NIL makes a big difference because those smaller level teams, they don't have the same consistency or continuity as they had when they had 4 and 5 year players playing together all that time. Now the big schools like Duke, they'll see a team like a Furman, and they'll go down to Furman and offer your best player who's scoring 25 a game, come on over here and see can you play in the ACC. And so now these teams don't get to jail like they were in the past. Yeah, I'm 39-9. Best ball transsexual on YouTube. Ain't no damn transsexual, and you talking crazy. You go somewhere else with that, man. But yeah, I think that there's a lot of good teams out there, and Auburn can do it. Houston, I like their defense. They can play pretty much any kind of way. But I would say this: I think Houston is due. I go all the way back when I was a kid when they had Guy Lewis and Olajuwon and all those guys. Clearly the best teams. That 83 North Carolina State team to knock them off. You had to have a lot of things going your way for a team like North Carolina State every round that they were able to survive like the way they did. And if you go see that documentary they put out about that, you know what I'm talking about. But some of those calls, like the dude reaching out and grabbing Drexler when it was clearly a blocking foul, they will call a charge. Those kind of things derail a team like Houston. And the point I'm trying to make is Houston had so many things happen to them in the NCAA tournaments over the years that they're due. And if they can stick around, they can play with any of these teams left in the tournament. And I think eventually, just like the guy from Maryland, not Maryland, say they were beat on the buzzer beaters, Houston's been beat on buzzer-like beaters over the years in the Final Four, and I think they're due. And if they keep on getting around the Final Fours, just like Gonzaga reminds me a lot of Duke when they first started coming along. If they can keep going and keep getting better and gelling, Duke and not Duke, but Gonzaga and Houston, they're going to cut the nets down at some point. So that's just my point on that. All right. I have Florida winning, but I think Maryland's a monster when they want to be. Well, you can't be when you want to be. You got to be all the time if you want to win. And that's just the way it is. All right, let me check this poll real quick. A lot of you think you don't like the replay system. I hate the replay system. It just goes too long, just like where it was in football. Keep this. Well, that's fine. I don't have time to fool with that. I'm fixing to get off. But I appreciate you, AB, for chiming in. It's the first time I've seen you on here. And everybody else that stopped in. I got to get out of here. I got to go to work, man. 7:05 is my cutoff point. So I had to keep down anything. So wherever you guys in the world, I appreciate you stopping in. Let me see what Steve was talking about. Teams don't have the money left to pay Rodgers. Tell you the truth, I think he's retired already. Well, that's part of it. That's why I say you call Rodgers up, man, you're going to play with us or not. If you don't want to play, don't worry about it. Yes or no. That's all I need to know. Appreciate it, AB. Cool Raptor. You guys have a great day, man. I got to go to work, man. Got to deal with these kids. So I'll be back on tomorrow with my Friday picks, and we'll go from there. So until next time, wherever you are in the world, have a great day. This is Coach Hall with Sports for Real. I'm out.